All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that honestly drives almost every single decision we make, yet we rarely ever pause to actually think about it. We're talking about money. But more specifically, we're looking at the fascinating psychology behind having enough of it. I mean, why is it that for some people, having millions or literally hundreds of millions of dollars is just never enough? Well, we're going to dive right into this, because the answers reveal so much about human nature, ambition, and the hidden traps of success.
So there's this incredible story that perfectly sets the stage for our whole explainer today. It was told by the late Vanguard founder John Bogle. He described this lavish party hosted by a billionaire on Shelter Island, and at this party, the author Kurt Vonnegut turns to his friend, the legendary author Joseph Heller, who wrote Catch-22, and he points out that their billionaire host, a hedge fund manager, had made more money in a single day than Heller had earned from his massively popular novel over its entire history. When Vonnegut pointed this out, Heller responded with something just absolutely profound. He said, "Yes, but I have something he will never have. Enough." That single word, enough, is stunningly eloquent. It shows this deep understanding that true wealth is a psychological state. It's an internal metric, not just a bank balance. Because for so many of the wealthiest and most powerful people in our society, there seems to be absolutely no limit on what enough actually entails.
Section 1, The Disease of More, featuring Gupta and Madoff. Let's get into it.
Let's look at the dark side of this psychology through a cautionary tale of men who essentially conquered the financial world, had absolutely everything a person could ever possibly want, but threw it all away for just a little bit more. Just try to wrap your head around the sheer scale of this number, $100 million. This was the reported net worth in 2008 of a man named Rajat Gupta. Now, Gupta didn't start on third base. He was born in Kolkata and actually orphaned as a teenager. Yet he achieved the phenomenal. By his mid-40s, he was the CEO of McKinsey, literally the world's most prestigious consulting firm. He partnered on philanthropy with Bill Gates, sat on 5 public company boards, and had retired to work with the UN. To put that wealth into perspective, a 5% annual return on $100 million generates almost $600 an hour, 24 hours a day, whether he's sleeping, eating, or awake. He could do literally anything he wanted in life. But, this is exactly where the psychology of more completely hijacks the brain. Gupta didn't want to be a mere centimillionaire. He wanted to be a billionaire. He sat on the board of directors of Goldman Sachs, surrounded by some of the absolute wealthiest investors on the planet. And one investor noted that Gupta really wanted to be in that billionaire circle because to them, Goldman was just the hundreds of millions circle. That envy led to a lucrative and highly illegal side hustle. In 2008, right during the financial crisis, Gupta learned on a confidential board call that Warren Buffett was planning to inject $5 billion into Goldman Sachs. Just 16 seconds, literally 16 seconds after hanging up, Gupta called a hedge fund manager named Rajaratnam and tipped him off. Rajaratnam immediately bought a massive amount of shares, and when the deal was announced, the stock soared. It was incredibly easy money, but it cost Gupta his entire career, his irrevocably ruined reputation, and his freedom as he was sent to federal prison for insider trading.
Let's move to our second cautionary tale, and this is someone you definitely know, Bernie Madoff. Madoff is obviously famous for orchestrating the most notorious Ponzi scheme in history. But what gets completely overlooked is that before his massive fraud, Bernie Madoff ran a totally legitimate, wildly successful market-making business. The Wall Street Journal even praised it back in 1992. His legitimate, non-fraudulent operation was executing 9% of the New York Exchange's daily volume and raking in $25 to $50 million a year. He was already hugely, legitimately wealthy.
So the crucial question we have to ask about both of these men is just why, right? Why would someone worth hundreds of millions of dollars, someone with unimaginable wealth, prestige, power, and freedom, be so incredibly desperate for more money that they'd risk total ruin? This isn't petty crime born out of poverty or survival. They had already won the game. They had everything, but they threw the whole shebang away because they fundamentally lacked any internal sense of enough. And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute absurdity of this mindset. And it's not just criminals who fall for this, by the way. Back in 1998, the hedge fund Long-Term Capital Management, which was staffed by brilliant traders who were personally worth tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, took on so much risk in their quest for more that they lost absolutely everything, right in the middle of a massive economic boom. Look at how Warren Buffett described their collapse. He said, to make money they didn't have and didn't need, they risked what they did have and did need. As Buffett points out, risking something incredibly important to you for something completely unimportant to you is just plain foolish. It entirely defies logic.
Section 2. The Moving Goalpost Trap. Let's break down how this actually builds into our everyday lives.
The sources point out that the absolute hardest financial skill to master is getting the goalpost to just stop moving. Because think about it, if your expectations rise equally with your results, there's literally no logical reason to strive for more because you're just going to feel the exact same after putting in all that extra effort. It usually goes like this. First, you get a taste of having more money, power, prestige, whatever it is. But then your ambition increases faster than your actual satisfaction. So suddenly, taking one step forward pushes your psychological goalpost 2 steps ahead. You constantly feel like you're falling behind, and the only way to catch up is to take greater and greater risks. Modern capitalism is incredible at generating wealth, but it's equally incredible at generating envy.
Section 3. The unwinnable comparison game.
Okay, let's dive into this next psychological pitfall that directly fuels that moving goalpost, the unwinnable game of social comparison. Just consider the incredible scale of wealth for a second. We start with a rookie baseball player making $500,000 a year. By any normal societal definition, this guy is rich. But if he plays on the same team as Mike Trout, who makes about $36 million a year on his contract, that rookie suddenly feels broke. Now, $36 million a year is an insane amount of money. But what if Mike Trout decides to compare himself to the top 10 highest-paid hedge fund managers? Suddenly, he feels poor. Because just to make the bottom of that top 10 list in 2018, you needed to earn at least $340 million in a single year. And guess what? That $340 million manager is definitely comparing himself to the top 5 managers who made at least $770 million.
And the crazy thing? It still doesn't stop there. Those top hedge fund managers pale in comparison to someone like Warren Buffett, whose personal fortune increased by $3.5 billion in 2018. And then Buffett can look at someone like Jeff Bezos, whose net worth increased that same year by $24 billion. Let that sink in. Bezos' wealth increased by more per hour than that rich $500,000 a year baseball player made all year long. The ceiling of social comparison is so astronomically high that literally almost no one will ever hit it.
Which brings us to a fantastic piece of wisdom. A friend of the author once asked a Las Vegas dealer what games he actually plays. The dealer replied, completely deadpan and serious, "The only way to win in a Las Vegas casino is to exit as soon as you enter. Trying to keep up with other people's wealth is a battle you can only win by refusing to fight to begin with. You just have to accept that you might have enough, even if it's less than the people around you."
Section 4. Protecting what is invaluable.
So how do we actually shield ourselves from this trap? How do we redefine what it means to succeed so we don't end up losing everything in the pursuit of some arbitrary number? We really need to reframe our understanding of this word. Having enough isn't about conservatism. It's not about leaving opportunity or your true potential on the table. Instead, it's a protective mindset. It is realizing that an insatiable appetite for more will inevitably push you to the point of regret. It's having the self-awareness to stop before your appetite literally forces you to break.
Think about this through a physical analogy we can all relate to. The only way to truly know exactly how much food you can eat is to keep eating until you're physically sick. But almost no one does that, right? Because we logically know that getting sick hurts way more than any meal is good. Yet, for some strange reason, we don't apply this basic logic to business and investing. In the pursuit of wealth, many people only stop reaching for more when they are forced to, when they break. That breaking point might be total physical burnout, it might be a catastrophic investment that wipes them out, or, like Madoff and Gupta, it might be a federal prison sentence, all because they couldn't deny the allure of one more dollar.
Which brings us right back to Rajat Gupta. After he was released from prison, he did an interview where he said he had learned a lesson. He said, "Don't get too attached to anything, your reputation, your accomplishments, or any of it." He claimed that his unjustly destroyed reputation was only troubling if he was attached to it. The source material views this as incredibly tragic, and honestly, it sounds exactly like the comforting, sad self-justification of a man who desperately wants his reputation back but knows it's permanently gone, so he just has to pretend it doesn't matter anymore.
Because let's be real, it does matter. The essential takeaway from this whole explainer is that you must recognize the things in life that are truly invaluable. Your reputation is invaluable. Your freedom and independence are invaluable. Your family and friends, being loved by the people you want to love you, your sheer happiness, these are invaluable. They are never, ever worth risking, no matter what the potential financial upside is. And your absolute best shot at keeping these things safe is knowing when it's time to stop taking risks that might harm them. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to really chew on. If you don't actively set your own metric for success, the world is absolutely going to set it for you, and that goalpost will just keep moving endlessly. So, think about your own life, your own ambitions, and your own peace of mind. When will you decide you have enough? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.